Hello, and welcome to Book Reviews Kill, a podcast about fantasy, sci-fi, and horror novels. I'm Evan.
And I'm Chad.
And you're joining us today for our recap and discussion of The Toll, Book 3 and the final book in Neal Shusterman's Arc of A Scythe. Yeah, I don't know about this one, Chad.
Yeah, I feel like, man, the ending of this book got maybe gleaned a little bit.
Got a little squirrely.
Just walked along the street, and all of a sudden the scythe came on. It was your time, and then shing. Left bloody and broken.
there were parts of it that I liked, definitely.
Me too. It was exciting.
I wish that Jerry had been a character for the whole trilogy. That would have been awesome. I liked Jerry. Jerry was cool.
Yep.
I wish that we could have seen more of Rowan and Citra and Faraday. I mean, we saw a decent amount of Faraday, but just, I don't know, I feel like Faraday was just kind of grumpy throughout the entire thing. Like,
yeah, he was just a Grumposaurus Rex, just like extinct in this island over here, just being like, whatever, I'm going to be like fishing with spears.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like the whole thing just felt kind of, at least the first half for sure, felt really meandering. We were being introduced to all sorts of new characters I didn't really care that much about because we're like at the end here, and it's just like, oh, cool, another person I'd never heard of in my life. You know, it's like that artist that like goes to talk to the Toll and is like given the whole backstory. It's like, I don't care. You know, like we're a few hundred pages away from the end of this trilogy.
Can
we just focus? And it makes sense, but I still don't like it. You know what I mean? No. Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be there, but I don't like it personally.
Faraday was a great example. I feel like there was characters that he was just like, I don't know what to do with this character, so I'm just gonna have him be over
like
here.
I got him where he needed to be. And now I've got all this other story to tell. I would say it's pretty impressive how much Shusterman was able to juggle with this one, because the other two stories are definitely a lot more contained. It's a lot of Rowan and Citra. I mean, Thunderhead opens up a little bit more, but it's still a lot of Scythe Lucifer, Scythe Anastasia, all of that stuff. And then, like, right when I started this book, I was just like, okay, what are we doing right now? This is a little. But one thing I really did like was the kind of correspondence between Goddard and the other scythes from different regions of the world. I thought that was, like with most of this trilogy, I mean, the kind of like end of the chapter excerpts are pretty awesome. I think that they do a lot of work for the backstory, and it doesn't feel really heavy, and it doesn't feel like too much info dumping or anything. And whether that's through like letters or it's like correspondence, or it's like the Thunderhead talking like in the second book, stuff like that, I think it's pretty solid. I think it lent a lot to the whole trilogy not feeling too much.
Yeah, I agree. And while I think Neal Shusterman kind of bit off more than he could chew, or maybe just didn't know what to do with certain characters, there were some shining moments, like his whole Rand arc. I really liked her character. I like how she ended. I liked pretty much everything about her, except for maybe some
there's like one
interesting things that we were
talking
about before
But yeah, I mean, I do feel like there's one key thing in this book, and I think we need to talk about it, that just, it kind of made the whole trilogy, I don't use this term very often, but it felt a little bit like a slap in the face. Like, why did all of this just happen and we're going to go over this, but I definitely, at the end of this book, I was kind of just like, oh, well, okay, well,
so we didn't need
that's the end of that. Yeah, all right. That's all right. I guess I had a good journey there.
Yeah, sure. Glad we did a nice little social experiment with like a couple 100,000 dead, a couple traumatized scythes. No big deal.
Got a whole stadium full of people that died, but
I just got out of hand a little bit.
But I mean, we had some really good conversations, and I hope we have another really good conversation with this one. And with that, let's go right into the recap.
Let's do it. 3 years after the sinking of Endura, Goddard is Overblade of Mid-America. Everyone on Earth besides Grayson Tolliver has been marked as unsavory, causing the Thunderhead to remain silent to everyone but him. Scythe Faraday and Manira Atrushi have found the Kwajalein Atoll in 2 secret bunkers. One they could open, but another scythe is required to open the bunker with a supposed failsafe. With no way of escape, having crashed their plane, they learn to live off the land for a year or two. At the same time, former Nimbus agents kidnap Grayson Tolliver, hearing of his rumored existing correspondence with the Thunderhead. Grayson gives them coordinates courtesy of the Thunderhead, which lead to the Kwajalein Atoll as well. Audra Hilliard, the director of the Authority Interface of Mid-America, approaches the atoll with 900 agents, but 800 are killed by turrets stationed on the island to prevent unwanted visitors. While savaging the ruins of Endura, a Madagascan named Jericho Soberanis, called Jerry by their friends and their crew on the E.L. Spence, brings up the vault of relics and futures, containing Citra, Rowan, and the Scythe Diamonds. Citra and Rowan are hidden in a region that is not aligned with Goddard. They stay in a castle occupied by Scythe Posuelo. Most of the North American continent has aligned with Mid-America, leading Goddard to the knowledge that both of them are alive. West America attacks the castle. They kidnap Rowan and take him back to Goddard. Citra manages to escape onto Jericho's salvager to an African region that hasn't aligned with Goddard. Grayson Tulliver is anointed as the Toll by Tonists and revered by many. Scythe Morrison is convinced to glean the Toll by Goddard. Grayson Tulliver is anointed as the Toll by Tonists and revered by many. Scythe Morrison is convinced to glean the Toll by Goddard, but joins Grayson's side after the attempt fails. The Toll, Scythe Morrison, and Curate Mendoza, the Toll's handler, then travel the world, calming radical Tonists. Citra and Jerry meet up with the High Blade Tenkamenin of Afric, who was instructed to meet them by Scythe Posuelo. The Scythes of the region convince Anastasia to broadcast what she has found in the Thunderhead's backbrain, incriminating Goddard and proving that she is alive. Sibilant Tonists attack the mansion with grenades, rendering many people permanently dead, including High Blade Tenkamenin. Jerry is rendered deadish and brought to a revival center with Anastasia in tow. Goddard, in possession of Rowan, sends forth an invitation to everyone in North America to attend a stadium where Rowan will be gleaned. He also plans to broadcast the gleaning to those who could not attend. Rowan discovers he will be burned alive, an act xenocrates outlawed in Mid-America because of him. When the time comes, however, the technician responsible for his burning is found tied up in Rowan's place. Rowan escapes with the Lone Star Scythes, and Goddard plays off Rowan's escape as part of the show. The real reason why the people are there, he says, is to glean them all. Goddard then tells the Scythes gathered around the stadium to glean the crowd of spectators in what would eventually be called the Mile High Gleaning. The Toll and his inner circle visit the Sibilant Tonists in the Ogbenite Caves, turning them against their previous ways and giving them a second chance. A lead takes Citra, Jerry, and Scythe Posuelo to the very same cave that is housing the Tonists and the Toll. The Toll and Anastasia recognize each other, much to the confusion and surprise of the others. The two go on a walk and discuss Goddard, her broadcasts, and a scythe that might help her incriminate Goddard, Scythe Alighieri. Since the Thunderhead cannot tell Anastasia where Alighieri is living, Grayson decides to use a workaround to tell her the location. The workaround is Jericho, and the two have a trialogue with the Thunderhead eventually discovering where Alighieri lives. The Thunderhead also notices Grayson's feelings for Jerry. Grayson accompanies Jerry and Anastasia to visit Scythe Alighieri. After some convincing, Alighieri decides to make a broadcast implying that Goddard was involved in a disaster on the moon, aiding Anastasia's venture to knock down Goddard from the position of Overblade. As the trio depart, an inspector sticks a tracking device to their ship, since it has a destination of nowhere and a cargo of nothing. After inspecting it, he calls Goddard to let him know that both Scythe Anastasia and the Toll are together. The team leaves the port and travels on to a place that doesn't exist. They reach the atoll, where 42 identical spaceships are being constructed. Faraday and Citra reunite and unlock the chamber that holds the lock to the failsafe. After they depart, they are reunited with Rowan, who is stashed in one of the barges carrying gleaned bodies to the atoll. As preparations are made, a Thunderhead-like AI named Cirrus Alpha is introduced. It explains that it is not bound by the same laws that bind the Thunderhead, that everyone will have a day to decide whether or not the people on the island will go up into space to escape the corrupt Scythedom and gleanings. Everyone goes to sleep, and Cirrus is uploaded to all 42 spaceships. In the morning, Grayson wakes up to the Thunderhead telling him that it is a good idea for everyone on the island to take a journey, because Goddard and his team are flying towards the atoll. The other planes flying with Goddard desert him, but Goddard is prepared with enough ordnance to destroy all 42 ships. 2 ships are destroyed on the launch pad, gleaning everyone aboard. Those who decide not to go leave the islands entirely, but some, including Grayson and Jerry, get on a boat and head for the middle of a lagoon, watching the liftoffs. Citra gets hit by a piece of shrapnel from the exploding ships and is carried to a ship by Rowan. She is rendered deadish, but Cirrus is instructed to revive her only when she reaches its destination in around 117 years. Scythe Rand renders Goddard deadish and escapes to safety. She later supplants Tiger's memories into Goddard's body, effectively gleaning Goddard. Faraday and Manira activate the failsafe, causing all 400,000 Scythe diamonds around the world to explode. The diamonds are filled with malicious nanites that are programmed to kill 5% of the world's population 5 times a century. The nanites mimic 10 diseases: smallpox, cancer, heart disease, pneumonia, stroke, malaria, tuberculosis, cholera, influenza, and the bubonic plague. Grayson and Jerry stay on the island, with both of them not sure what to do. They both have feelings for each other, and Jerry decides to change what dictates what gender they are. They change to being a woman on land and a man at sea. While the sea washes over their feet, Jerry says they feel as if they are both, and Grayson feels just fine with that. Grayson also destroys his earpiece and declares the Thunderhead unsavory to him because it violated one of its laws when he took over Jerry's body, deciding that it will be redeemed in time, like how humanity will be redeemed to the Thunderhead. Citra wakes up 117 years later, with Rowan standing over her and welcoming her to the new world. Some scythes, including Scythe Faraday, continue performing the new way of gleaning, called sympathy gleaning, but they all do so out of compassion and mercy for the people that suffer during their deaths. The Scythedom is closed down, and the colonists on the spaceship escape and have no contact with planet Earth, living new lives among the stars.
I mean, some of them, I guess. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Turns out it was all for naught.
I don't. Man, there's a lot that I don't like about this at all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I like this. Going forward in this conversation, I just want everybody listening to know I didn't really like this book. I don't think it's a very good ending. I think it feels very thrown together. It feels very rushed. It feels like a bunch of stuff happened at the very end that wasn't alluded to at all in the first 2 books, even a little bit.
Also,
and it's just
destroyed the meaning of the first 2 books.
Yeah. So, okay. So if in these rings is the ability, or a failsafe, if you will, to be able to kill 5% of the population every, what is it, 5 times a century or whatever?
Yeah, it's 5%, 5 times a century.
Okay. So every 20 years, 5% of the people on the planet die because of these diseases.
Yeah,
Why didn't we do that in the first place? Like, why is that the backup plan when that backup plan would work way better than some people having to be like, it's like, oh, just in case, like this group of people with the power of life and death becomes corrupted at some point. It's like
just the people
that
who can operate outside the law.
That just so happens to be the only people that can't be in that can't communicate with the Thunderhead. That is the only thing that's making everything okay. Like,
the only authority.
It's so dumb. Like, it's so silly to me that would be a thing.
Right. We invent this thing that fixes everything, and then we invent this group of people that operate outside of that thing that's supposed to like be the solution to what? No, let's use the thing that fixes the rest of our problems to help us with this problem, obviously.
Like, so if I'm being charitable here, was Shusterman trying to show that like the people that founded the Scythedom,
I mean, kinda. They were gleaning each other and being corrupt. Like, they were corrupt from the beginning. It didn't even take a couple hundred years. Like, the first group of Scythes were like lamenting in their diaries, that their Scythe diaries of like, oh man, like turns out we're rotten from the start.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a pretty loopy way to get to. I mean, it's just like, where did the side, like, why? Oh my god, I'm having a hard time with this. Like, this book took me forever to finish, and I just couldn't. It was just like one silly thing after another. Like, we're building spaceships, and some of us are gonna leave, and of course, like, the 2 main characters get to go and like don't have to be subjugated to like these the 5% of the planet. But it's like, all right, but the rest of the planet still has to deal with this, but I guess it's cool because like our main characters got away. Like, there was no real like change. I mean, like, I guess there was a change in the sense that there wasn't a Scythedom anymore. But but then we also can still have scythes, kind of like Faraday, who
we can still.
But he just does it in like a more nice way now. Who is like people who are. I guess
he's not allowed to do it in a bad way. And then we have Goddard, right? Who's like big bad guy who gets stopped, but then it immediately doesn't matter at all because his power is removed the next second by this whole change of regime of the Scythes no longer needing to exist. So it's like, so Goddard was defeated, but he didn't really need to be defeated.
Well, he was rendered deadish by Rand,
right?
Who then somehow gained the ability to supplant stuff, which I don't know if I just misread that, and if somebody can fill me in on this, like, how did she gain the ability to do that? Can you ask the Thunderhead to supplant people? Is that like a thing? Like, I
guess.
I thought the Thunderhead took care of that, like, and chose to do that, but like Rand does it and like effectively kills Goddard.
I don't think she has the know-how. The Thunderhead was directly interfering because he was gleaned, so that's like a super interference by Scythe activities to like bring him back alive.
And we're just forcing these romances, right? I mean, like Rand and Tiger, like what? Who cares? Why?
Right?
Why? And then Rowan and Citra just don't even. That's just not even.
Not once.
I don't get that. It would have been fine if the story did not require a romance between Rowan and Citra.
Have them be super besties.
They're besties. Like, why not? Why can't they just be platonic best friends? I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I really don't like this. Like I think that the first two books were really solid, and then this one, it just kind of failed on like a lot of different accounts.
There's mentioned a few times like this will be the only time that humans get off the planet. Well, why? Why would we even kill? Why wouldn't we just send up the 5% in another spaceship? If there's like, how many planets are there out there, Toll? Like, why can't we just keep doing this and send them more? Like,
yeah, do we not have enough spaceship material? Like, we used up all our spaceship material. Like, why does if nobody ever needs to die because of our technology, and we have also developed the technology of obviously to be able to like take people into space to other planets, like why don't we just do that? Like, why does anybody need to die at all? Like, why?
It's like, why are we even controlling this on the death side? And I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but it's like, it seems silly to be like, okay, we got to kill people. It's like, well, just have less people be born. Like, you're killing people, but you could just, not let John grow up to 1,000 years old and have 18 different families and 40 children, and like just limit it on the production front, not on the back end. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, like this
all
feels
the solutions are kind of dumb.
Okay, so my theory behind this, and like maybe this is gonna sound a little mean, but I think what happened, and I'm not Neal Shusterman, maybe he's very proud of this book. And Neal, if you're listening to this, sure, like that's cool. But I think Neal Shusterman came up with a really interesting idea and then didn't know how to end it and didn't know how to bring it to any sort of fruition or figure out any kind of closure on anything, and was just like, all right, well, there was a failsafe that basically figures everything out.
It's all good.
And then our heroes get away.
The thing that they no longer need to really get away from, though.
But it's like, I would rather live on a planet where everything was taken care of, and you had 5% of the population was killed every 20 years. I would rather live on that planet than go to a new planet and like try to duke it out there and like in the chaos of space. Like, no. And even like at the end of the book, like the chance, it was like being described to them, like the chances of their surviving even the trip. And it's like, well, what?
Let's take the time to do it right then. No one's under duress anymore. We can take our time. We don't have to rush out of here anymore.
It's so, and don't even get me started on Goddard.
He's the worst.
A terrible
He's evil
villain.
For evil.
Such a crappy villain. Like he just loves killing, man. Just loves
like
killing. He just can't. He just, boy, oh boy, do I love killing, and I want to kill as just. It's just so like, why didn't the populace like rise up against this whole system? Like that would have been a way more interesting story, honestly. Like if Rowan and Citra led like a revolution against like this systemic injustice, and they required a systemic solution.
Hunger Games with it.
Like,
that
that would have been really cool. But no, like they're just gonna fuck off, and then like Grayson is just like, no, the Toll, because you like did this weird thing where you like wanted to touch me or whatever. Like, dude, there's so much really weird stuff in this
okay,
book.
That was a little like sexual assaulty. Like, he just
weird.
Like takes over Jerry's body. Like, I thought he's perfect. I guess not, because like that was.
I mean, the whole point is that he's not. That's why he's like building up this new.
But I mean, kind of. It's still like him that's being perfect. That he's saying he like makes copies of himself that are still like the perfect leaders. Like, it's just weird that like I just don't believe the world when I start thinking about it after a minute. It's like, okay, why are we training the Scythes to be like super killers when they never are getting in fights? Like, they have all these like they train so hard to like know 30 different ways and poisons and all these things, and it's like, but why? Like,
maybe they were worried about a revolution that just never ever happened. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it would have also been, and we try not to rewrite books too often on here, but it really would have been cool if like Citra and Rowan and the Toll all had to come together and say and like convince the populace through like this society of lethargy and basically everything being totally cool all the time, and say like, no, look, something actually really is wrong with this system and we need to fix it. Other than we'll build a bunch of spaceships and leave.
Right.
Like, what? Like, what is that? Like, and the only thing that saves all of this is a failsafe that would have been a better solution
in the first
initially.
place.
Like, I don't know why. What is the reason that they went with the Scythedom over the failsafe? Is it because the Scythedom from the start was corrupt? Was that what it was? But like,
maybe.
But why can't the
Thunderhead? They may have installed the failsafe like after the fact, like, well, just in case like this doesn't work out, because it's clearly not.
People definitely need to die, but it's like, well, wait, why though? Like, why?
Yeah, why don't we just keep sending them up in spaceships?
We're back to that question.
They focus so hard on like, we have overcome nature, and then they do everything within their powers to mimic nature's way of killing people, like the plagues, like the bubonic plague. That's an awful way to die.
Yeah, no, totally.
Like, let's just have it where like you have it in your power to have everyone just like drift off, like bubonic plague and like heart problems, and like the list was awful, like cholera. Like, these are terrible
like
things.
Why would you reintroduce that into a society?
Yeah,
because there's like this weird status quo that the story just thinks that it needs. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
It's
we gotta mimic nature, even though we've totally beat it.
There's all these rules. Yeah, there's all these like weird kind of arbitrary rules that are thought up in this trilogy that it's just kind of like, but why though? Like, why would the Thunderhead not be able to reprogram itself? You know what I mean? Like, if it's this all powerful thing, and it kind of does with Cirrus.
It doesn't even kind of follow its own laws. It's always finding the loopholes.
Right? I know. It's
so
like
dumb.
It's like if you're effectively doing the thing that you're programmed not to do, then you're doing the thing you're programmed not to do. Yeah, like, it's so silly.
Like, and why doesn't, like, every time they need them, why don't they just go deadish? Because they know that's one of the loopholes, but they never exploit that again ever. Like, every time you need to ask them a question, they just be like, huh, well, let's go deadish, and then the Thunderhead can talk to me, as opposed to digging through its back brain for the next like year and a half. I'll just like jump off, have someone push me off a building, and then I'll go deadish and then talk to it and be like, where do I go exactly to find all the things that I need? Cool. There. Awesome. Now I'll be alive again.
Like, what was the point of Citra even finding out all that dirt on Goddard? If Goddard just like dies because of Scythe Rand, like, was it
and
for
then the
Scythe
whole
Rand's
Scythe
benefit?
Just gets neutered anyway.
Like, was it for, yeah, it was like,
everyone could be like, oh,
that's even up until then, like, that's kind of where I thought the plot was going, was that Citra was going to kind of like convince the general populace that, or at least the New Order Scythes, to like really revolt against Goddard's regime.
Right.
And like, we didn't need to leave the planet at all. Like, when I figured out they were building spaceships, I was like, this jumped it jumped 42 sharks. You know what I mean? Like, it's what the hell is this? Like, I don't. Okay, so we've definitely dug this one a new one here real quick, but like
we've been slapping it around the ring for a minute.
It's okay. Now. It's fine. But I will say there were a couple parts that I thought were pretty cool. There were some pretty good action scenes in this book. All the stuff in Afric I thought was pretty solid.
The invasion of like, there was
there were some interesting scenes for sure. Like Scythe Morrison, I thought was a fairly interesting character. Honestly, I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Scythe Morrison was pretty cool. Grayson being the Toll, I think was fine. Like, I think it was a pretty logical direction for Grayson's character to go, and I was pretty interested in it for a while. But then it got weird, and it I don't know.
I liked it, but I didn't understand why it needed to be there in the first place. Was like the Thunderhead just throwing a fit?
I don't. Well,
he just throw a little hissy, and he's like, "Everyone, no one's gonna get to talk to me. I'm only talking to Grayson because reasons."
I think kind of.
Okay.
It was weird. Like Grayson's just kind of like going around convincing Radical Tonus to like simmer down a little bit,
right?
And I don't know, man. It's like if you've got everybody's ear, aren't you going to try to do like some more good than that?
Right,
like,
right. I mean, start a rebel group.
I don't know, man.
Like start Lucifer's army. And let's start taking on some. It's like weird that Scythe Goddard had any amount of like allegiance by anyone. You like that one person at the shipyard. He like called him up to be like, "Hey, there's a ship going nowhere and it's got nothing as its cargo." It's like, why would that guy do that for Goddard? So he's like, why would you want anything to do with Goddard? Goddard has tricked everyone. He's like, been come close to me for dinner, and then he kills them all. Like, dude, you would want nothing to do with that guy.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of odd. Like, it's stuff like that makes me think like, maybe Shusterman was just like, okay, how do I get Goddard out there?
Right.
And then it doesn't even matter that Goddard was out there.
Right. And also he's got like 42 missiles. Shit.
All kinds of missiles. Oh, so many missiles.
Made of future planes. I'm not going to die on that hill.
I don't know. I didn't like any of this.
You know what? It made me mad.
I like some of it, I guess, but yeah, the writing is good.
Yeah,
the writing's good. The writing's good.
It was good.
Like,
it was
solid the whole way through. Well, really.
Yeah, just baseballing prose, but with good writing. I liked the scene. Well, I didn't know if I liked it, but it reminded me of when the Trade Federation is on that one desert planet with the bug flappy guys, and they're trying to go up, and it's like right at the beginning of the Clone Wars, and then they get shot down, like the big ball ships. They get shot down. Yeah. I imagine like those ships is what they look like, and that's what they looked like.
Yeah, I didn't imagine like rocket ships. I imagined like big, like
Trade Federation middle balls.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why. Like, what is Cirrus able to do better than the Thunderhead exactly? Like, why did
I think it was just a copy of himself so that he could put him on the thing, put him on the ships. But if he could do that, why didn't he just do that at the beginning? So we had like somebody who could talk to people and like, I don't. Again, it was just all these weird. Thunderhead being like, I can't break my own laws. Thus, we have to create these weird like high like activity, like high energy, high wasteful workarounds that accomplish the same thing in the end anyway, where he like forces Grayson to ask him all these questions that are like kind of around the topic, but so he doesn't just tell him, even though he totally knows, so that way he doesn't break his own arbitrary law that will suffer no consequences if he just decides to just break it anyway.
Yeah, and if the Thunderhead is able to program another debatably better AI, why doesn't the Thunderhead just program a better AI that's able to break the side rules if this stuff is getting out? I mean, it seems like there's
so that
a
way
lot
he could like turn on the island defenses and shoot Goddard down before he even gets close and like save everybody the trouble. Like,
it seems like an odd choice in your trilogy to have a character that can literally do anything, because then there's no conflict there, there's no anything. So it's like it felt like kind of like this drummed up like arbitrary rule that through the way the story is told and the way the Thunderhead is portrayed could break that rule, and kind of does, like, frequently.
Right, like it's like all the time.
It's like you kind of have it. It's like you have the spectacle of having like this omnipotent or nearly omnipotent and omnibenevolent, but unless it gets mad and then shuts down everybody's communication with it.
Right. Which is super like, not watching everybody's personal space, though it could, except for if you break the law, then it just decides to watch you then, and then totally sends the people to come get you. Like, what? Like, yeah. What? So it is like, watching everyone all the time. Like,
so like if it's as powerful as it is, and it's just shown, like we see that it's powerful enough to create a better version of itself, or at least a different version of itself, then why not create a different version that's able to deal with the scythes? If the scythes have become this big of an issue, like why are we in rocket ships? Like, I just don't understand. Like, I just really don't.
And how does that aid the story? And what point is it? I feel like we're headed towards all these points and lessons. And then at the end, it was like, it doesn't matter. We make bad calls sometimes. Humans are corruptible. And ta-da. You're like,
good thing we got all those diseases though to sort it out for us,
right?
Like the ultimate thunderhead, the cholera, like that. You know, I could do a better job than the Scythe dumb, fucking
bubonic
cancer.
plague.
Let's give kids cancer again. Like what? Why? Look, what you built up this entire society, this utopia, and then you made it regress for no reason. For no reason at all. Like there was no inciting incident that made it so that we would now have to go give children bone cancer again. Like there's no justification at all for it. Like I just
and you can just put them out, and like you can make more spaceships. Like they didn't run out of spaceship dust. Like just make more and send people off. Like why would we need to kill anybody? There's no point. There's many solutions to this problem, and the ones that they land on and like die literally the hill they die on are just like not very good solutions to the problem.
I don't know. I've never run a utopia before. Maybe I'm missing something here.
Same.
I have to be fair in my critique, and I really need to be sincere with my audience about my level of expertise when it comes to running a utopia. So, but I don't think Neal Shusterman would run a very good utopia either.
Definitely not.
He built up a pretty cool one. Like it was pretty cool for a couple books here. Thunderhead and Scythe. Those first two books were rock. I want to read those again because they're really cool. And I think I probably missed a tiny bit of the nuance that we even in the hours that we've been talking about these books still probably didn't pick up on because there's a lot here. And then it just kind of like falls on its face,
Right. Not to mention, I looked it up. The first this book is 600 and something pages long, which is really the first 90 pages. We don't get Citra or Rowan.
No.
Like there's 90 pages of new characters at the beginning of the third. Like why does it take so long? Where are the characters that I've been spending all of this time with? Okay, help me understand Faraday. What was he doing on the island? Like he gets stopped because he doesn't have another scythe with the ring, and then he's just like, whatever, I'm not going to phone a friend. I'm just going to get all depressed and go hang out. What is his deal?
That seems to be the extent of what.
Is that
I don't think it's that much deeper than that. I mean,
darn.
Because Faraday can't contact anybody really because everyone thinks he's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody knows who Faraday is, so he can't just like put out a call. He thinks that Rowan and Citra are dead too, and Scythe Curie is dead. So like all of the sides that he would know. So his kind of like depression episode that kind of makes sense honestly because he's like we got so close and now there's literally nothing I can do. So that kind of made sense.
I feel like you could have third partied the Thunderhand a little bit because he was like, oh, I like pizza with pineapples, and then that would show up in the mail the next day or whatever. Like that's not specifically what happened, but very similarly, to the air. I feel like he could be like, oh, I wish this person would be aware of this, and they could tell this side.
Well, he can't communicate with the Thunderhead. Only Grayson can.
Oh, I know, but remember they were saying on the island, everyone could just say like, "We really need some more ratchets and nails," and then they would just show up. They would just say that to the air. So like he can't, but he kind of can communicate with the Thunderhead.
Maybe this is a little too nitpicky, but it's just so funny that it's like, okay, so to open the secret locked door, you need not one scythe, but two scythes, and it's like, why not 5 scythes? Why not? Like if
we can't have one person making all of this decision.
Well, we need 2 out of the 400,000. Like then at least some people are agreeing on something. Like it's just so silly.
Oh my gosh.
It's like if there were 400,000 people that could launch a nuclear missile, but the only way you could do it was with 2. It's like that's so ridiculous that you would have it be that. Like it's so pointless.
Might as well be one.
Still, it might as well be one. Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
Also, like I don't know, the Thunderhead was a
fun
real
episode. We've never gotten
this is a fun
before.
Episode. Yeah. Sorry, Pinata Scythe. Well, sorry, not sorry, man. You brought it on yourself. Okay. Also, the Thunder has the decision to take all these bodies of dead Tonus for other people, and then who was the one Tonus who was like diehard who ends up being on the ship by herself? Poor thing.
I don't remember. Was it
I don't remember her name. What
was it? Hilliard.
It might have been Hilliard. Yeah, I think it's Hilliard, and she is like, cool, it's gonna be like all these Tonus societies because you got all these Tonus bodies. He's like, no, I'm actually just gonna remake all their brains to be like perfect people who aren't Tonists. And it was like those people decided to be Tonists in life, and now you're gonna remake them as like, it seems like just very controlly and weird. And the Thunderhead is just like going super god mode.
Yeah, but in all the ways that don't really help everybody on the planet. Like,
but like, yeah, I don't know. It just was weird and seemed kind of like seems a little disrespectful to those people's corpses.
I mean, maybe like they're dead, so
yeah, I guess
they would have been dead anyway. Like it's like, I guess it is kind of disrespectful to the corpses in a way, but like I mean, at the same time, it's like they're dead, so
they are dead.
It depends on depends on what you think. Yeah,
to Hilliard, though I was like so like I just had to like laugh when she gets aboard the ship flying off. She's like, "We made it out, yay!" And then Carlos or whatever the other Thunderhead's name is, the new Thunderhead. He was like, "Oh yeah, you're the only one awake." She was like, "Well, wake up someone so I can like hang out." And he's like, "That's like the one thing that I can't do is wake up anybody. So you're just gonna have like 1,100 years or something of being alone with me, and then you can lead the Newtonists. Like after you're certifiably insane." Did you see the coming of the betrayal by Tonis Pozuelo when Grayson was like, "I don't need you anymore," and then he like immediately jumped ships?
Oh no, that wasn't Pozuelo. That was Mendoza.
Mendoza, my bad. My bad. Did you see that coming, or did you find that interesting at all?
Not really. I mean, like he was just.
I'm reaching, man. I'm reaching.
I thought Morrison was pretty interesting, but then nothing really got done with him. So it was just kind of like, oh, well, all right.
That's kind of what happened to the whole thing. Cool. It was like it was just all going, and then it was just like, oh well, turns out none of it mattered. Goddard could still be alive, and it wouldn't matter.
I think it's also silly to have Citra have like that kind of close call at the end.
Made the like dun dun dun. But not it's really.
Okay. Yes, I mean she's probably gonna be fine. You know what I mean? Like
right. It was just like poor Rowan. He's like. They've been separated this whole time on this love that I didn't really feel in the first place. But whatever, if I was to like really try and feel it, it's like, okay, cool. Now I guess he has to live for like 117 years without her, and then they're back together again. Like again, didn't matter. Just mattered not at all.
So little shock value there at the end.
Yeah,
you know. Were you shocked? Were you?
I was a little shocked. Yeah.
Were you shocked? Oh, well, then mission accomplished.
I was gonna be really annoyed if he like blew her to pieces. You know, where she couldn't be put back together at all. I was like, wow, you're not even gonna like let them have their like love that I don't really feel, but like they clearly need to. I was like, well, you at least let them have it. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. This was all pretty slow, and it wasn't boring. Yeah. I don't think I've said that word the entire time.
It was not boring. I will give it that.
I will give it that it wasn't boring.
Like there was missile attacks and a whole stadium of people being murdered.
Yeah, like there were some pretty high points for this
being
book.
Burnt alive.
I think the thing that I'm just annoyed about is just kind of the progression of the story and where it ultimately ended up, and it just left me feeling like weird about everything that I had just read up until then. And but I mean, as far as like the kind of moment to moment stuff that was happening, it was all pretty intriguing and interesting and pretty well paced. And yeah, I mean, like I would still probably recommend this trilogy. Slow.
There was a lot of traveling around and like converting Tonists and like building the groundwork for.
But things can be slow and still interesting. You know what I mean? Even though new characters are being introduced, like Shusterman definitely does a pretty good job of like keeping you interested. Like it's like, yeah, I'm getting backstory. It's kind of annoying because this is like the third book or whatever, and I want to know more about Rowan and Citra and Verde and stuff. But it's like, but what's this guy Jerry doing? You know, what's going on with them? You know, like it's
okay.
So I feel that. Like Jerry was pretty interesting. I think Jerry and Grayson, like that was pretty cute. You know, that was nice. Definitely. Like
I felt their romance.
Yeah, I felt like that
slow
was
and worked
well executed.
Nice, yeah,
at least well executed in comparison to Rowan and Citra.
Straight up, yeah.
Rand and Tiger. Like I could have had a whole like chunk of a book or even a whole book about Rand and Tiger. You know, like that's interesting on its face that Rand had to like dig up this kid and then like train it to be Goddard, but then she falls in love with him along the way, and then I felt like all of that was just, it was so lightly and subtly implied and like touched on a little bit, and it's like, no, that's good stuff. I would like to know more about that, please. And then Rand is just like visiting Tiger in like this snowy hellscape or whatever, and
because it's like you have to like,
why did you even
these
go
trials?
there? You know, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
No, I kind of liked that it was like hard to like find it was like you have to work for it if you want to like
that was
talk
a cool
to your
element
dad. But like make it like a quest that she goes on and have some like awesome like trials that she overcomes. I thought like if we're gonna do it, let's do it. You know, she's just like there. like many of the things in this book, the first 2 books were so good, and then they just like the ideas get like too whack. It was like everyone was just smoking blunts, and we just have all these great like the Atonist, like kind of a cool idea initially, like and then but like totally acceptable idea, and then all of a sudden we've got these ones that like take a vow only to speak in vowels, which he missed the really super duper low hanging pun fruit there, but we'll let him have a pass on that one. It was just like, wait, why do we need a sect of them that only speaks in vowel? Like that's just taking a cool, like kind of cool idea and then just making it like, what? Why? Like I don't know. He just like squeezed these ideas a little too hard, and like they just didn't need more idea juice coming out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't really have a whole bunch else to talk about with this. Really, like it was.
Yeah, I want to see Neal Shusterman hit me with a new idea, and
apparently Unwind is really good. That's another one of his series that a lot of people seem to really like.
Okay, because the man knows how to write.
Oh, absolutely, and there's some really good ideas up in here. I mean, really, like I like 80% of this entire trilogy, except for just this last part. I was just like
66.66 repeating.
I mean, I thought a decent chunk of this book was pretty cool.
Like you said, it wasn't boring, so I should give it more credit than it is. It was just I just kept like he kept undermining his own power. He'd be like, "This is meaningful for these reasons," and then he'd be like, "These things that are the reasons for this meaning don't actually matter at all, and thus the reason there's no meaning anymore." So it's like, okay, cool. So like, Goddard wasn't a big bad guy that needed to be stopped, and he could just be knifed, and betrayal, like Rand just gets mad and just like blood in the plane, whatever, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if Shusterman was trying to hit people with an ending that they weren't expecting, then yeah, that happened.
He did do that
for sure.
Okay, why did Goddard go to the moon and to Mars to kill everyone?
Because he just likes killing, man.
And he was like, there can't be a place where I think
there was like a small thing about like how he doesn't like scientists or something. Like where like
scientists. Like the only line I remember was him being like, there can't be a place where that exists outside the rule of the Scythedom. And it was like, but like the Scythedom only exists to kill people because there's overpopulation. Those places have like no people.
But he likes killing, Chad.
Man, like, he's just a real
oh boy, gotta go kill people.
Spectacular.
Kill as many people as I can. And obviously I don't think that that's wholly uninteresting. I mean, like the idea that being saddled with ultimate power would make you ultimately corrupt. Yeah, for sure. But it doesn't go any deeper than that. Like it really is just
Killapalooza.
Like he's just a madman, and it's like, I mean, I guess like sure, but if he can be killed with a knife by somebody, like I mean, I don't know, like
yeah,
that's what happens. So like, he's not there anymore,
right?
So,
all right, he got a few of the spaceships.
Like I think it would have been a lot more interesting if he had truly brought people over to his side. You know what I mean? Like, because it seemed like he had basically scared everybody into being on his side. Like he wasn't conniving enough to really start a real movement that had people that were, you know, he wasn't convincing enough. You know what I mean? Because nobody was as evil as he was. You know, so it's like he's kind of like alienated as the worst. And everybody else is just like, well, we got to do what he says or else, you know, like it's going to be bad for us. But then as soon as he dies, it all just dissolves. And it's just like, all right, well, good thing he's dead, I guess. That like everything can go back to the way it was before.
But also not really, because we like don't have the Scythes doing their thing anymore. So like,
well, see, that's another thing though. It's like, yeah, I mean, Faraday is still a Scythe, like doing these like mercy killings. And it's like,
are there new Scythes
again? I don't know if there's new ones. Like maybe it's like in Monsters Inc. where they're like, we're still going to keep our entire society, but it's going to be based on laughter now instead of screams. Right. You know, and it's just like, wait, but why would you take the society to a place where it needed mercy killings? Like the whole point of this is that it's a utopia. You know what I mean? Like the whole point of this is to move past painful, miserable death, because that sucks. And like there's no throughout the story, at least for me, it hasn't been explained to me why the society needs that kind of misery. You know what I mean? Like, is there any reason why we would need that. And like it kind of touches on it a little bit in the first book where it's like, well, without suffering, we wouldn't be thankful for when the good stuff happens.
I mean, it was like overpopulation, right? Or are you talking about?
I'm talking about the disease. I'm talking about
the disease.
Yeah, I'm talking about like going back to a society where people are dying from terrible illnesses. Like that's weird. Like I get that people need to die. I still don't get it because I agree with you that why wouldn't you just make your society? Why wouldn't you just make it really difficult to not
have less babies or more spaceships?
You know what I mean? But like, I will at least meet you halfway if that's what it takes. That yes, some people need to die. Sure. But why this way? You know what I mean? Like, why?
They didn't even outlaw burning by fire until like halfway through the
Rowan
second
did it. Yeah. Like, whoa, that was pretty bad. Oh, man, no.
If you went out and took a consensus of like the way you super don't want to die above all other ways, it would be like that one would be so high up on the list. And like, it's weird.
Why would the Scythedom have full capability to kill any way they want to? Like, what is the point of making it so that people still died in the same ways they were before?
Right. Like we've overcome nature, but we still do it. Mimic it.
Yeah. Like what's like, oh, like this amount of people die in car accidents. And it's, well, yeah, they used to, but they don't anymore. The whole point is that they don't anymore. You know what I mean? Like the whole
that's the utopia.
That's why it's cool, you know? And like, yes, people still need to die, sure, but make it the most humane way possible so we don't overpopulate. Boom, problem solved. You know what I mean?
Boom.
Like and so that's why I feel like there were so many things that were introduced in this series, but they felt arbitrary and then like kind of
they were. And like, yeah, just like have all the sides be like only able to kill in this super one humanitarian way. They have to bring all of their victims to like the one place where they go, and then everyone can watch them do it. So it's like very regulated. It's like if we're going to overcome nature, then let's overcome nature and make it so that we don't have this like super obviously 100% corruptible force out there running around unable to be stopped by anyone.
No, but don't worry about it because just in case that very corruptible force becomes inevitably corrupted, will bring cancer back. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense, man. Like, it's so weird.
In case you were wondering, no, one person cannot do it alone. It takes two.
It takes two. You gotta have two sides if you wanna do this.
We have to.
Like, and why was the atoll hidden from the Thunderhead at all?
I don't know. It wouldn't have been able to act on Scythe stuff anyway, so like
what's the point of it? Not why
like why would you hide it in like children's songs?
And wouldn't the Thunderhead notice, and it does notice, that there's a place where everybody can't go, and like,
well, it doesn't really
reprogram itself. Like the Thunderhead is
programmed, I think.
I know we're kind of going over the same territory here, but it's just it's like if the Thunderhead is able to make Cirrus, why can't it reprogram itself to bypass these laws? And it's like,
because it's perfect.
It's not.
But it's not.
The point of it is that it's not. Like it's like it is a little bit. It's so corruptible that the one person that the Thunderhead even wanted to talk to put it in the doghouse.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, obviously you don't have a bunch of reservations about some stuff. So why this? You know?
Right.
Like it. I don't know. I feel like my brain is on fire. Like
I found it a little bit interesting, the little excerpts of like all of the recreations that it created were the ones that like
that was pretty cool.
That was kind of cool because it showed like the different versions that the AI could have gone down. You know, that was interesting and continued on the previous conversations of like, well, good thing we landed with the right one, and like this thing is kind of cool. And then so I like that.
I mean, I guess, but it really just shows again that the Thunderhead again has the capability of creating something that is, if not better, then different enough to solve problems. But no, they get into rocket ships. Like,
right.
Okay.
Why?
So I think I've done about as much as I can on this episode.
I think so too.
This book put a pretty bad taste in my mouth. I was not a fan of it. The more I talked about it, the more I realized how much I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think,
same.
Again, I will say that Shusterman has some fantastic ideas. He presented a lot of them in really interesting ways. I don't think that this book really wrapped any of those, most of those ideas up very well. But I do think Shusterman is a very good writer. There's some really interesting parts of this book, and mostly the first two books are.
Are page turners.
I would really recommend reading the first two books to people that haven't, and then I would say go into the third one with low expectations and get what you can out of the third one. There's some cool.
I would say just make up the coolest ending in your head and don't read it.
I don't know, like this. It's like it's not the worst book I've ever read in my life.
No, like you said, it wasn't boring.
It's the worst book in this series.
Oh, by a lot.
Here, let's do this. Even though we probably have the exact same answers, but like, how would you rank this trilogy? Start with your least favorite to your favorite.
Okay, least favorite, the third one, and then the second one, and the first one. No, the second one. Okay, I like the ideas in the first one and how it was kind of revealed to us slowly, but the second one was way more entertaining.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I'm going to say they're pretty even. 1 and 2 are both like equally very, very readable and very good for me.
I would say I like Thunderhead just a little bit more.
Okay.
The Grayson Tolliver stuff I thought was pretty interesting because it was expanding a lot more on like the unsavories and all that. I really liked all of that.
Right.
When they got to Endura, that was really interesting. I thought Goddard, mystery. Because I was reading the second book, I was like, whoa, we're going to get some more depth on this Goddard guy in this third one. Like, this is I can't believe he's back. Like, whoa, oh my God. But yeah, that didn't amount to much. But yeah, I'd say the second one's the best. And then Scythe is like right in the middle. And then Thunderhead, or the Toll, is all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, I think I like 1 and 2 for different reasons. So it's kind of evened out for me. Yeah, but for both had their different highlights for me. Both of them were great books though. Like I would put them on the same, like operating at least in the same sphere of like Hunger Games or like these dystopian books that are really popular. Like I think they were very fun to read and awesome, cool ideas. They got some really cool conversations out of us. We were like geeking out about like existential stuff for the first 30-40 minutes of one episode. And that's fun. That's good stuff. That means that we have good base material, a good platform that we're jumping off of.
And then we finally had an episode where we really tore something apart.
Yeah, we did. We did have that. We have the whole pinata episode. Sometimes we got to have one, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes, but yeah, it's funny when I posted initially about me starting this trilogy, I got a lot of TikTok comments and Instagram comments that were just like, that third book is not very good. And I was kind of like concerned by the amount, like the volume of comments.
This must have some truth.
Yeah, I know. Because definitely like if I see like the odd comment that's like, I don't know, I didn't like the third one, I'm like, that's just you. That's just like your opinion, man. But then when I get like 30 or 40 of them, it's like wait a minute, what's going on here? So I would say that maybe my opinion was already influenced by the time I had gotten to the third book, but I don't think it was. I had some pretty low expectations, and it still wasn't. They weren't met. And I don't know. I'm still going to read other Shusterman though. I'm going to read Unwind. There's another one called Dry that I want to check out. Oh, Challenge Your Deep is supposed to be pretty good too. Like, there's definitely some stuff other stuff of his that I want to check out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened here.
Me neither.
Maybe we just didn't get it. Like maybe there was so much nuance and subtlety that you and I both just didn't pick up on. And this book is actually genius, but I don't know. I don't know if I could. There'd have to be like a really big piece that I'm missing here. And I'm very open to the idea that I could be wrong about some of this stuff. And I know that there are a lot of people that really love these books, and all three of them. And if I am missing something here that would kind of alleviate some of my frustration, please let me know in the Discord or wherever. You can email us and like just tell us, lay it out for us, because from where I'm sitting,
I care?
Yeah, from where I'm sitting, it really didn't add up, and I don't know what's going on with this book. But yeah, we're done with Scythe. I'm probably actually going to read Gleanings too.
Is it the short stories?
Yeah, like I'm probably going to read that too. Honestly, I've heard it's really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I want to keep reading about it. Honestly, I like thinking about it, and I like talking about it. So I mean, maybe we'll do a Gleanings short story for the Friday Forge episode or something.
Ooh, that'd be fun. I'd like that.
Yeah, I bet we could find a good one of those, because
that we can end our Neal Shusterman, or at least this rendition of our dalliance with these books, without just a total explosion of like, what?
I know. Yeah, that was a brutal episode, but I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Please, if you disagree or anything, please hop in our Discord and let us know. We'd love to talk with you more over there for sure.
Cool. Yeah, that's going to do it for me on this episode. Really cool couple of books and then kind of a dud for the last one, but I would probably still recommend this trilogy, even though the third one's kind of weird. But, there's some really good ideas up in here, pretty decent character work and very good writing. So, that's my opinion on Scythe. We did it. All right.
I'm with you, man. We did it. I'm glad through. And you know what? Maybe it's also being a little bit flavored because we are reading some bangers of some books right now. We got Faithful and the Fallen. We got Red Rising. Like it is just, we're just nom-nomming like the caviar of sci-fi and fantasy stuff right now. It's so good. So
well, that's what the podcast is for.
So make sure you stick around.
All right. That's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Look out for our episode on Malice by John Gwynne coming up here pretty soon. We've got a first Red Rising episode coming up here soon. And then after we're done with those, we're going to move right on into Skullomance by Naomi Novik, which is going to be really cool, I hope.
Nice, yeah. And we shall not forget When Women Were Dragons as well.
Yes. We need to read that for the Patreon.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for being patient with us, Patreon. Yes. It's been a doozy of a couple weeks here.
Truly, you are our favorites.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day. And of course, happy reading.
Bye, everybody.